Good evening, everyone. Iowa with the 89-58 win over Bethune-Cookman. I'm Corey Brady, your host here at Iowa Postgame at The Voice. Still in football mode, folks. Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close, and I believe we have the one and only Coach Gary Close on with us for the first game of the season. Coach Close, how you doing, sir?
I've been great. I stayed around to watch the second game. It's just got underway.
So you're there watching the women right now.
I am. It's no score. Just started.
Well, I think we may upset some people if I asked you to do some play-by-play. So I won't ask you to do that, Gary. But we'll let you slide here in a few minutes.
That's
before
not
we
one
get
of my fortes.
That's okay. Before we get to some calls later in the show, I know you have a short amount of time here. So can you tell us, first of all, your overall takeaways from Iowa's 31-point win over the Wildcats of BCU?
I thought it was a nice start. You know, it's the first game of the year, and I thought because of that, you got to expect some ups and downs. And for the most part, I thought they played well, had good balanced scoring, and took care of business, and which is what you want them to do. So for the first time out, it was real good. You know, obviously, as we get going here, even in a non-conference schedule, it's going to get a lot tougher than what they played tonight. But a good first game.
Gary, I want to ask you, what should fans, the average fan watching a game like this, that I hate to say this, but from a fan's perspective, you kind of know it's going to be lopsided. What should the average fan be watching for in these first couple of games?
Well, it's when you get early in the season, it's nice to see, some of the newer players and how they contributed, and then look at some of the returning players, and you see some things in their game that may have improved. And I think in a game like that, where it gets out of hand, can you still stay under control and play a solid fundamental game, which I think they did. And so, like I said, I think it's a good start.
Gary, I want to ask you this: offensively, pretty balanced scoring. I'm going to got the box score in front of me here. Let me pull it up again. I guess I exited off of it, but pretty balanced scoring. I mean, Chris Murray was good. Peyton Sanford was good early. I kind of struggled to shoot the three a bit. Is there anybody that stood out to you offensively?
Say that again.
Was there anybody that stood out to you specifically on offense?
I thought Tony played very well. He looked confident. He looked under control. He scored both inside and out, and I was very impressed with him. I thought Phillip played hard. But like you said, I think the balanced scoring was encouraging to me. I think all five starters were in double figures. And I think the other thing was the 25 assists. It's always been a pretty good passing team, and they did a nice job of that and got everybody involved. And obviously the more players that you get involved that can score, it makes you harder to defend. And so that was encouraging.
Phillip Bracha with 11 points, 10 boards. Patrick with 12.6 boards. Keegan Murray with 14.6 boards. Sanford with 13 and 4. And then Tony with 16, 5, and 2. And Desante Bowen gave him a good spark off the bench. Coach, your early thoughts of Desante Bowen. He looks the part so far.
Yeah, I like him. He looks like he's got good quickness. He's pretty solid with the ball. He's got a chance. You can't teach quickness, and he's got it. He can go end to end, and he's got a pretty good feel for the game. He had a couple nice passes, and so I was very.
Only thing I'll say on a concern level, and we're one game in, Gary, and I know you're going to tell me to relax, right? That's your patented thing to say to me, but just a little bit concerned from my vantage point. I just wonder if we are going to see the jump from the 2 7-footers that we were hoping to see. Just your early thoughts on Josh, who I'll acknowledge he gave him a good minutes in that second half, but are you concerned like I am right now with what's behind Phillip Bracha?
Yeah, I think make an assessment of that. I think Josh showed some flashes. big thing in him is going to be condition. You know, if this game goes up and down, a couple of sessions, he's going to have a hard time playing too many minutes because of that. But he played hard. He showed some signs, but like you said, I think the jury's still out as far as a backup. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's more by committee with Murray and some of the other guys, and they just go small. But I think they'll keep trying and see how he develops, and hope that as the season goes on, he can get some promise.
Gary, can you give us an update on the score?
The score is 6-2. I was just doing a great sideline play, but the story of the game is Caitlin Clark has left with looks like a sprained ankle.
Oh.
So hopefully it's not too serious.
Okay. Well, Gary, I'm going to let you get back to the Iowa women and their quest for a win over Southern, and we appreciate you taking the time this evening, and hopefully we'll talk to you here later in the week.
We'll look forward to doing it throughout the year. I'm looking forward to talking with the guests, and we'll have some guests too, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. So
sounds good, Coach. Take care and travel safe back home.
You bet. Thanks.
Coach Gary Close joining us. Bit of a condensed time with our head man Gary, but he's enjoying his time at Carver, and I thought it was a good crowd. Honestly, small crowd. You expect that for a season opener. I don't know what the announced attendance was. I'd say somewhere in the realm of 7,000 to 10,000. But I thought the crowd was involved. It was nice to have Josh Agundale make his name known in that second half. That got the crowd going. I am concerned right now. I mean, I it's one game in. It is early, and Gary brought that up, but conditioning is my concern, and I'm just disappointed that we haven't seen some steps taken there conditioning-wise. Josh put in some good minutes in that second half, got winded quickly, and just have to wait and see. We got some big games coming up, and we know there's some big centers in this league, guys who are 6'11", 6'10". Zach Edey's 7'3". So it will be interesting to see how Iowa does at the 5, what they do at the 5, because Phillip can't play 40 minutes. Let's get to our first caller who's been on hold. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? I was I had the stream up of the women's game, so Gary has already updated us, unfortunately, on the big news from Clark is still not entered the game since she left from injury. So
yeah, let's hope for Caitlin Clark's sake that that's not a high ankle sprain and that it's something that's just a tweak.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I don't think Lisa Bluder would have any problem keeping her out the rest of this game as a precaution, because Iowa should be able to take care of Southern without her. But that's just part of the game. Injuries are part of the game.
And you just move on, next man in.
What'd you think of the men, Tony?
I will say at least we are not one of the 4 teams who I saw lost a bye game tonight. We got out with no injuries. We won the game. I think we looked complete. You mentioned all 5 starters. Sorry, we're in double digits.
Yeah.
Very balanced. The defense looks a lot better than it has in maybe the last couple of years, which is good. And I think that will help them as the season progresses.
I agree. I mean, it's far too early to make any declarations about defense. Certainly, I've been open, acknowledge the fact that this defense has improved. Contrary what some people would want you to believe, the defense has improved since 3 years ago, since the year that ended in. Even the COVID year was better than the year before the COVID year. But they still got to take a jump, Tony, because there's a long way between being 70th in the country in defensive efficiency and being a team that can compete for a season title and potentially, making a Final Four. But they got to get the Sweet 16 first. But anyways, the point is they're going to get a litmus test in about a week against Seton Hall. But
for sure. Yeah, and one thing I'll notice is I don't even remember if I've heard this said in the past few years from the players. Peyton Sanford came out after the game and said, he heard a little noise about his matchup with Joe French, and he took that personally and held him to 1 for 5 shooting. And, he wanted to prove he was more than, Peyton wanted to prove he was more than just an offensive player. And I think there might be more of a commitment to the defensive end this year from some of these guys.
Well, there needs to be. I think they've got the right personnel. I mean, we know Tony can defend at a high level on an individual basis. Chris is a good individual defender. I think Phillip is a good individual defender. Connor's improved as his career has gone on. Patrick has the athleticism to be a good defender. Peyton is the one guy I wonder about, and I was at this game this evening, and so I have a little bit of a delay in getting back here, Tony, but that was my comment during the game. I said, the one piece that I saw question marks about defensively, there's obviously questions about as a unit, can this team be good enough to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament? But I still wonder about Peyton's ability to guard guards, right? Guard twos in this league.
Yeah.
And in the tournament. Joe French is a very good guard, but he's not as quick as he's a bigger, I don't even know how big, he's like 6'5". He's almost a 3. I don't know how, again, without studying Bethune, I know he's listed as a guard, and he was really, he was as quiet as can be. 3 points, he took 5 shots. So I don't know what's going on with Joe French. The guy was in the NBA draft last year and pulled out. So not sure what the hype there is or what the reason for his lackluster performance tonight, but he really didn't even see that like they were making a concerted effort to get Joe French the ball. But you're right. You give Peyton Sanford credit. He did what he needed to do, and he's going to have some stiffer tests down the road, but he passed the test tonight.
Yeah, Joe, I just looked up. He's 6'5", 170. So, he's a bigger guard, like you were mentioning. And, we need to see him do it because there's going to be smaller, quicker 2 guards that he's going to have to go up against.
Exactly. Yep.
We do have the advantage, like I think we mentioned that Truman State exhibition game where, our 2, 3, 4, they're all 6'8" wingspan. And that's going to cause problems for some people, but is the quickness going to be there outside of Perkins on the 1?
Yeah.
So I appreciate the time. I'll probably try to be here every game I can, and I'll list the rest of it. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Tony. Have a great night.
You too.
Appreciate Tony being with us, one of our premium subscribers. Let's welcome James into the mix here. James, welcome back to the show.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Good. It's good to be back. I was going to be there Saturday, but I had stuff going on, so. But I feel like
the show almost shut down without you there, James.
Not really, but I feel good about the game. Obviously it's Bethune-Cookman, so you can't really even in North Carolina you can't really hold a high pedestal. Obviously, it's a game you should win. You know what I'm saying? It's a game that you shouldn't have an issue winning, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You have. But
Absolutely.
I feel good, and Jelly, I like the Euro step by Jelly. I feel like I didn't expect him to pull that out.
The Euro step, you like that?
Yeah, I'm happy for him though. He deserves it. But you could tell he was getting gassed. He ran up and down the court twice, and he was done.
I do have concerns about the 5. Listen, I was laughing at it. I thought it was great. I thought the crowd was it got the crowd involved, and he got engaged with the crowd. But James, seeing him again in person, he had, it appeared to me that he's gotten in much better shape.
Yeah,
and that's a concern for me.
That's the one thing I was watching too. He after he had the Euro, and then he had the nice pass, right? And then after that, it's you just watch him walk down the court because you could tell.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? So for me, it's
I watched 3 straight possessions, and we were down there. We were real close to the court. We were about center court. I watched 3 straight possessions where Josh Hawkeye did not run back. So I don't know what that means. Riley Mulvey played 3 minutes at the end of this game.
To be honest with you, it kind of shows me is maybe they feel, I don't know if it's matchup wise, because that guy was big, right? Their other big that came off the bench for Bethune-Cookman. He was tall, but he had a little bit of girth to him. They say it was 250, 260, I think, the other dude for Bethune-Cookman. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but James,
I'm saying I don't know if that's why. Josh was
Riley
in
Mulvey
Riley
has
Mulvey.
developed, then this is the game you want to get Riley Mulvey in the game, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they
I
don't have
agree.
many of these. They don't have many of these pay games, right?
Yeah, I agree. That's why it's making me think maybe they don't like the way he's looking because they didn't only play in 3 minutes.
I agree. That's my concern. The lack of minutes for Riley Mulvey is an indication that perhaps he hasn't developed the way they'd hope. And this is his second year in the program, but this is Josh's third. So I think that the fact of the matter is what we thought might happen, I think, is coming to fruition just one game in. This is going to be a heavy dose of Philip Rebraca all year, and he becomes Iowa's most indispensable player. I don't believe it's Chris Murray. I don't believe it's Patrick McCaffrey. I believe the most indispensable player on this roster is Philip Rebraca because there's nobody else that can play that position anywhere close to the way he plays it.
That's one thing we've been saying the whole time. That's why we try to go after AMAC and some other guys. I feel like was like because you just can't trust the other two behind him.
Yeah, and you want to. I mean, it's nothing. Again, I think the world of Riley. I don't know Josh as well as I've kind of gotten to know Riley a little bit. Of talk, had him on this show a couple of times. He's a nice kid, and I wish him the best. I hope he does make it. I mean, he's a redshirt freshman, so he's still young. He should have been a true freshman because he reclassed up last year. So
yeah,
you give those guys time, but in the interim, they're going to be playing lots of small ball.
First off, TCU is a team we could run into in the Emerald Classic, whatever. They're in a dogfight right now. I know it's the first game of the year, but they're in a dogfight with the Arkansas Pine Bluff. So you never know how it could be. It could pan out. I'm saying this year,
Well, the way I look at it, James, I don't want them to be I don't want TCU to be fighting through Arkansas Pine Bluff because that don't help Iowa's strength of schedule at all.
True, they're up 1 right now, 66-65 with I think it's under 7 minutes in the second half.
I do see that, yeah.
But I was gonna say the guard rotation kind of is cool to me because Bowen looked good in my eyes. Obviously, I think he's more of a passer. I mean, his shot's not there, but he can get to the rack. He's quick, and his passes. He had the nice pass to Chris on the layup or whatever. So for me, it's
real nice feed.
He's one of them guys where I think he reminds me a lot of Toussaint in a way where the way he plays. You know what I'm saying? Not like he's actually Toussaint, but the way he plays is kind of like Toussaint in a way. Where he's quick. Maybe not as quick as Toussaint. Toussaint was fast. He's fast too, but
got a chance. All right, this is one game in, so again, we're making these broad assumptions. DeSante Bowen, just looking at his high school, he's got a chance to be as dynamic and much more under control. No offense to Joe Toussaint, but DeSante Bowen appears to me like a guy who plays under control.
I agree with you. Yeah, JT would kind of get out of control sometimes. You see him go too fast.
Yeah,
but
I've been impressed with DeSante Bowen and Josh Dix missed everything tonight, but it looks like he's doing everything he should be on the defensive end. He had a couple layups, so he's obviously putting himself in a position, and those shots will start falling.
I'm glad he has the confidence to shoot them too. For a freshman, you need to have the confidence to shoot him, especially in games like this where it doesn't matter as much.
Absolutely, yeah. And no, I was fine with how he played tonight. The shots are going to come, the shots are going to go, but good shooters eventually. They come back around, and he's a good shooter. I mean, he's coming off the injury. He's a true freshman. It's his first real game in Carver. He'll be just fine. Good to get this experience. He got an extended run in that second half, and then of course he'll get I expect him to get an extended run against North Carolina A&T.
Another thing too is I've been saying this for 4 years at least because I'm gonna say Connor was hurt probably for one of them years because he's been there so long I can't remember, but I've been saying for at least 4 years. Connor, if he can get a consistent 3-ball down, he just expands this offense so much. You know what I'm saying? Remember his first couple of years, he was afraid to shoot the 3. It seemed like.
Yeah, you're right. And he made another one tonight. On the night,
do you have 2 on the night? I think he had 2 on the night.
Yeah, Connor was 2 of 3. So on the season right now, if you count the exhibition, which I know you don't technically count it, it's he's 6 of 7. No, excuse me, 6 of 8.
Yeah.
Right in saying that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you shoot that clip, boy, look out. His ability to pass the ball and to feed the post. And Philip Rebraca is not Luka Garza, but he's improved his offensive post game. That's a pretty positive development if Connor can be consistent from 3. And remember, he showed flashes last There were games last year where he was really good from three, but he's
especially
going to
near
be.
the end of the year before he got that injury. Like before that, he was starting to shoot the three better, and you can kind of see it where it was like he was starting to kind of get it going. One thing too that like for me is like Rabracha looked great, right? Like I'm happy for Rabracha, he looked great, but it's also Bethune-Cookman, and it's also North Carolina A&T. So like once the higher competition goes, I think we'll start to see what his growth actually is like.
Yeah, and he's not going up against Luka Garza and even Ryan Kriener, and he's going up against a couple guys right now who have not developed yet in Agundale and Mulvey.
Mm-hmm.
No offense to those guys, but yeah, you're right. I mean, the good news for Phillip is I think a lot of it last year wasn't the physical side of the game, although he is undersized compared to a lot of these fives in this conference. But it's the confidence side of things. He's jumping from the Summit League to the Big Ten Conference. He's been there. He's done that. He knows what to expect. By all accounts, he has improved his defense. I think there's going to be concerted effort from everybody, given the struggles early on in the conference season last year, to rebound better out of the zone. They seem to be rebounding well right now. Again, Bethune-Cookman and Truman State, but today they won the rebounding battle 44-33. I mentioned that Philip Rabracha had 10 rebounds. And it looks to me like Chris and Patrick are crashing the glass. They each ended up with 6 apiece. So they're long enough. They're not. We've said this before. They're not real big at the 5 collectively. As far as guys who are going to play a lot of minutes, I think you're going to see the majority from Philip Rabracha, who's 6'8", 6'9". But throughout that roster, I mean, Peyton Sanford playing the 2 at times, and he's 6'7". So they've got length and good enough length to rebound.
And one question I have for you: who do you think is the biggest? Like, so obviously, let's say this is starting out for us here, right? Let's just predict that, right? Who do you think is the biggest guy off the bench? And who do you think is the most important guy off the bench?
The most important guy,
Yeah,
probably Connor.
that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if he can shoot, listen, if he can shoot at the clip that he has shown these first 2 games, and I have no reason to think that won't translate over to better competition. I mean, what reason would we? I mean, yeah, guys are going to start having to defend him differently, but that's a good thing. That's the whole point of being able to knock down shots, and it's going to open up things inside. But if Connor can shoot at this clip, no, I absolutely believe he's the most important player coming off the bench. And let me tell you something else, James. If he shoots at this clip, he could easily win Big Ten 6th Man of the Year. Absolutely.
For sure, and it's good to see his growth because, like, he's battled injuries, kind of like J-Bo when he was here, he battled injuries too. So like, it's good to see him just keep fighting. He wants to be there. And one more thing I had to see too. So Ava, Ava Jones, she kind of was talking about like, not being able to play. She announced she's signing her letter of intent on Wednesday. So
yeah, congratulations to
Ava.
Absolutely.
But it was a good night overall, and we'll see Friday. Obviously, Friday should be another game where we should not have an issue, but you also never know because right now TCU's down 2 to Arkansas Pine Bluff, so you never know.
Got to take care of what you can take care of, and we'll get better competition next week. Appreciate the call, James, as always.
All right, bye. Enjoy your night.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's move on to Drill MVP, who's on the line. Drill MVP, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Corey.
Did you watch the game? It was on ESPNU.
I was flipping between that game and Kentucky Howard.
Okay. Let's give all our Iowa fans an update. How's CJ Frederick looking?
He's looking good. It's the first game, so you really can't gauge a whole lot of things, but he's athletic, man. So
He is?
Yeah, he was athletic. He showed some moves. I was impressed.
Oh.
So for tonight, though, but they were playing a Howard team that, is like Bethune-Cookman. I don't think they're going to set the world on fire. So, Corey, they didn't. Bethune-Cookman, not a good opponent. Iowa avoided disaster. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the other games. That's probably best case scenario because some of these other games are coming down to the wire. I'm not sure if you saw. I believe TCU's in a close game against Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, that's what James was saying.
Yeah, Creighton is in a close game against St. Thomas. Marquette is in a close game against somebody. So while it's the first game of the season, and I know, Corey, you were bringing some negative things about the center position, there are some positives to take away from this game as well.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, frankly, the balance on it's going to be different. We said this last year, and then Keegan Murray comes out of nowhere and becomes a lottery pick. But I don't know that Chris is going to be making that level of a jump. Now, maybe he will. I know some people have projected that. Some draft people have projected that. But I think they're going to have to rely more on balance. And we have Iowa's not relied on balance in years. I mean, we're talking years because they had 2 years of Luka Garza dominating. And then you had the year of Keegan Murray dominating. So it's been at least 4 years since they've had some form of balance in the offense. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. It is what it is. They're just going to play differently this year. And boy, the balance they had in that starting lineup was impressive. They are going to have to get production off the bench. Does Ulis give them offense? Does DeSante Bowen give them consistent offense? Can Josh Dix make threes? He didn't really make threes tonight. Those are question marks. I don't know what you're going to get out of the backup big men. Certainly, it doesn't look like you're getting a ton of minutes out of either one of those guys. But can Ogundele and Mulvey spot you 10 minutes a game? I think if you can do that and get some production, then you're happy. So, no, overall, I don't take a ton away from this other than the fact that they were very balanced offensively. I was at the game. I don't think they played that great. Did you feel like, I know you're not an Iowa fan, Drill MVP, but did you feel like Iowa played great? I didn't feel like they did. But they got the job.
I don't think great is a word. They played solid. I mean, in my opinion, for these first few games, I wonder how much of the mentality of we're clearly better than this team, let's try to get out of here without any injuries type of thing sets in because it's a long season. I think that might attribute to some of the issues you're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. Seton Hall, obviously, in a week. Corey, are you more or less confident in an Iowa victory because of this game?
I would say has Seton Hall played yet tonight?
I'm not aware if they have or not.
Okay, let's since bring it up. Iowa does play Seton Hall next week. Let's just look at the schedule here. They do not play tonight. It appears that they play for the first time on Wednesday. They play Monmouth. Correct me if I'm wrong. Monmouth has been a tournament team in recent years, correct?
I don't think so. They've been borderline. They had that 1 year with the bench. You remember when the bench did all the dancing and stuff? Okay. And that was a national story?
Sure, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Iona beat them in the tournament, I'm pretty sure, that year.
So Seton Hall plays Monmouth on Wednesday. So if Iowa fans want to get an early look at Iowa's first real tough opponent, it's Seton Hall on Wednesday against Monmouth on FS1. So, and for anybody curious, if you want an update on this, TCU right now is up 73-72 on Arkansas Pine Bluff. And yes, TCU likely to be an opponent Iowa faces, although who knows, with Cal on the schedule, maybe Cal can beat TCU. Right now TCU, number 14 in the country, up by just 1 on Arkansas Pine Bluff, 73-72 down in Fort Worth. So we'll keep our eye on that game. Anything else from you, Drill MVP?
Well, Corey, based on how much more time in that game is left? Do you know?
There's 8 seconds.
Oh, well, then that's not a good result for Iowa's strength of schedule. If you can have a scare as long as you get by and correct things. Okay, fine. Game is over. Yeah, Arkansas Pine Bluff had a shot to win the game. They miss it, and so TCU survives 73-72. So, I mean, you survive the game. TCU is going to have they've got some games coming up. They get have games coming up. They get Lamar, they get Northwestern State, they get Louisiana Monroe, and then they get Cal. So they may not be. Listen, if Cal's not very good again this year, and they weren't very good last year, Drill MVP, Iowa may be the first test for them this year. Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, that was a very surprising result for me, TCU. With this emphasis more on the Duke game for me because of this result. That Duke game for Iowa just got a whole lot bigger because
you could be right. The Seton
Yeah,
Hall
well-
game is big. The Seton Hall game is big as well.
Oh yeah, but people, if you're a bubble team, which Iowa might be, people are going to nitpick these type of results in your non-conference schedule. And TCU was thought to be, but they struggle against Arkansas, Pine Bluff. If they struggle against somebody else, they fall out of the rankings. It's not as good as a win. That could hurt Iowa in the future. And it's no fault of their own, but it's just the unfortunate reality of the situation.
You're right, Drill MVP.
Yeah. Good. Who do you play next?
You get North Carolina A&T, and that game is, I believe, Friday? Let me pull it up here. It is on. Should have checked this before I came on. I know they play North Carolina A&T. I just want to know what day it is. Yes, on the 11th. That's Friday, correct? Or is that Thursday? No, that's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
They play North Carolina A&T on Friday at 7.
Well, do you have any preview or any scoop inside on them?
Yes, I do. I do, right? I'm going to defer back to the preview, the non-conference preview that I had published back in whatever it was, July. Let me pull up what I can tell you about North Carolina A&T before I let you go here. Okay, and I told you about Joe French, and that really didn't pan out because Joe French was a non-factor tonight. By the way, how were the commentators tonight on ESPN? I know I saw Robbie there. I saw Robbie Hummel on the call.
I thought they were fine. I mean,
okay.
So.
Just curious. Okay, so North Carolina A&T. So, since you asked, anybody who's curious on Iowa's next opponent, they finished 9th last year in the Big South. Their final net was 286. Final KenPom 289. They do return their leading scorer and rebounder in sophomore Marcus Watson, who averaged 13 and 6 last year. So this is a North Carolina A&T team that last year was better than Bethune-Cookman, but still a team that Iowa should dominate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go with. So you're telling me this is a step up in competition for Iowa?
Somewhat.
Yeah, maybe they'll only win by 25 instead of 31, Corey.
There you go.
Yeah, good luck, Corey, the rest of the way. It's nice to get that Richmond Spider taste out of your mouth.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, shout out to St. Peter's before I leave.
Those Peacocks. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the call as always. All right, let's get Jared, the actor, who has been waiting on hold for quite some time. Jared, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Corey, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. It's been a long few days, as you can tell. Once again, I'm not in my natural habitat.
Yeah, I can see that.
We were in West Lafayette, and then we were in Chicago, and then we were at the game tonight in Iowa City. And so been a wild few days, but hey, a lot of it's been Iowa-centric, so I'm happy about it. I wish my internet was a little bit stronger here where I'm at, but once we get back to our home base, it'll be things will get back to normal.
Yeah, a little bit choppy tonight, but otherwise okay.
Good.
First and foremost, I think last time I called in 2 weeks ago referencing Hawkeye Howard, who's a sick man. I think he had a double bypass surgery. And
Yes,
I want to give a shout out to him because he's a loyalist from the Hawkeye of the Storm universe. And I just want to say, I hope he's doing well. And, my thoughts are with him.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think Hawkeye Howard, I don't think I'm violating any HIPAA rules in saying this. He's been very open about it, that he is still recovering from double bypass surgery. So, and he's been on I saw him in the chat earlier. Say certain, but absolutely. Thoughts continue for Hawkeye Howard, who has been a loyal listener here for well over a year.
Yeah, so I appreciate all the others that call into the show, and like myself, really enjoy the content. So just wanted to say that to begin with. Now,
thank you.
Yeah, and now once again we begin with a new season of Iowa basketball, and it's uncertain about how good the team's going to be. I guess last year it was, the emergence of Keegan Murray coming out and exceeding expectations. And, do you think we have the Chris Murray younger brother, excuse me, not younger brother, but equivalent brother of Keegan, who can step up and do the same things this year.
I don't think Chris is going to be what Keegan was last year. If he is, I'm not going to complain about it, Jared. But I don't think that's who Chris is, not yet at least. I mean, he scored at will, in the Truman State game. But I would say this: if he can give you 15 a game and Patrick gives you 14 a game, who cares? I think a little balance may actually do them well. They're less dependent on one guy. They're less dependent on staying healthy. Now, I told you, I think Philip Bracha might be the most important player on this team due to his indispensability and the issues that Iowa has, I think, with depth at the 5. I think if Chris Murray were to go down, that would be a blow, no question. He's probably the second most indispensable player, at least in my mind. But he is also a guy who I think they can kind of fill his role with length, with Patrick and with Peyton Sandfort. We've talked about Tony Perkins and his length for being a 2 guard. Connor can play the 4. Connor can play the 3. So I think they can mix and match. Now, depth in general, I know it sounded like I didn't listen to Fran after the game, but judging by what I heard in the chat here, it sounds like Fran made a comment after the game about his confidence in the top 10. Fran's going to say that regardless. I mean, that's what Fran is. He's a promoter, and that's great. I mean, I love Fran. I think he's doing a good job here with this team. No reason to think otherwise. But my point is, we're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, right now, I don't have confidence in 10 guys. Do you, Jared? Jared, are you with us?
You cut out a little bit there, Corey. So, I'm kind of cutting out with you on your end.
Jared, I was just wondering if you believe that Iowa's 10 deep right now.
I think they are. I mean, of all the seasons of recent, I think they have the most balance. They don't have that one dominant player, Keegan Murray, Luka Garza, and Jared Uthoff type guy. They're going to have a more balanced team, and I think that could end up being a better situation.
And to Esther in the chat, Iowa wins 89-58, in case you can't see it on the screen. Yeah, I just don't think, Jared, I don't believe that they're 10 deep yet. I see 5 in the starting lineup you have confidence in. I think their confidence in Bowen is strong. I think they're confident in Ulis and McCaffrey. That's 8. Maybe you throw Dix in there as 9. But, Frank can say he's confident in one of the big men only once, but I think if he was confident in either one of those guys, they'd be playing more. Now, Josh, his biggest issue appears to be his conditioning. And I don't know if that's ever going to improve. This is year 3, and it hasn't really improved. But, those guys totaled 14 minutes against maybe the worst opponent on their schedule. So that's my only concern. But overall, no, I think they'll be deep enough, but you don't want a plethora of injuries coming along.
Do you think Josh could step up this year? I mean, he had some flashes tonight where he had a few assists and, got some buckets. Do you think that was
Dix or Josh Agundale?
Agundale, yeah.
Well, I mean, he's going to be able to. I think he's going to give you something. But again, how long is he going to stay in the game? He had that one little stretch there in that second half, and within 2 or 3 possessions, he was gassed. So, I mean, yeah, he's going to give you. Hopefully, he can give you 5 to 10 minutes. But if Fran doesn't have much confidence in Riley, then you're going to get 5 to 10 minutes out of Josh, and then the other 30 to 35 minutes are Philip. Philip's probably at the 4 at all. That's frustrating to me because I'd like to see Philip at the 4. I think it's his natural position. It is what it is. I mean, Fran will figure out a way to make it work offensively. That's the beautiful thing about what Fran McCaffrey does with his offenses is he figures out a way to generate scoring regardless of personnel. Even the team that was bad in 2016, that team scored a lot. They just couldn't stop anybody. So it's going to come down to, can they rebound? Can they defend? And I think individually, they have to do it. And so that's why I'm encouraged by this. Regardless of the potential issues with depth at the 5, I'm still encouraged by this team's potential to win games in March.
Sorry, Corey, you're cutting out a lot. I don't know if it's my internet or yours, but it's tough to hear tonight. Can
Well,
you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. If it's mine, I
Okay.
apologize, sir.
No, it's fine. So I'll let you go. I just want to, I want to subscribe to your premium membership. Can you tell myself and others how to do that?
Can you say that again, Jared?
How can I and others subscribe to your premium membership on YouTube?
Yeah. So if you're interested in subscribing as a premium member, you should be. Are you watching this on your iPhone? Are you watching the show on, Jared?
Just YouTube, yeah.
Okay. So if you're watching on your iPhone, you may have to go on the desktop or browser version, but there should be a little join button next to the channel name. And if you click on that join button, you'll be able to see the perks, and then you'll be able to see the cost of being a premium subscriber. And appreciate the support. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me by Twitter, Facebook, whatever, after the show's over, and I can walk you through it if you have any problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the content, Corey. Badgers, Hawkeyes this weekend, fall-wise. I'm going to be calling in, so everybody else watch too, and I'll catch you then.
All right, Jared. Appreciate the call as always, sir. Well, folks, I apologize that we're having some issues with the internet and the connection. Do want to thank, before we head out, I want to thank Iowa Floor Covering, the folks down in Bondurant, serving all of your flooring needs, including their Tough Core Click Together, if I can get that out, Click Together 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring. So you can check their stuff out. Iowa Floor Covering down in Bondurant. They've been sponsoring the show here this evening, so appreciate the guys down at IFC. Good to hear that Caitlin Clark is back in the game against Southern, so it doesn't appear to be a serious injury. Folks, I will be back with you tomorrow over on our Iowa Football at the Voice of College Football channel with Mark Rogers. We'll be there tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Central Time for Iowa Live, previewing Iowa and Wisconsin. And then on Wednesday, look forward for an announcement as far as a time for the show on Wednesday. We'll be having a live show with Coach Don Patterson recapping the Iowa-Purdue game, and then, of course, looking ahead to Iowa-Wisconsin. So, again, Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. Central Time with Mark Rogers over at Iowa at the Voice of College Football. Wednesday, to be announced, Wednesday evening with Coach Don Patterson. Apologize for the technical issues. I promise I'll be back at the home base and get these issues resolved. Apparently, internet's not a priority everywhere I've been. So we'll get that figured out, and we'll be back tomorrow. So appreciate everybody being here this evening. Again, to recap, Iowa advancing, but defeating Bethune-Cookman 89-58 in Carver Hawkeye Arena. The men are officially 1-0, and they will look ahead to a date with North Carolina A&T coming up on Friday.